It is 6 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA play-in tournament continued last night with the Eastern Conference 76ers edge the Miami Heat 105-104 in the final seconds. Big fourth quarter from Joel Embiid pushed the 76ers, who now get the New York Knicks and do not have to play to have a chance at the Boston Celtics. That falls to the Heat culture because Miami will now face the Chicago Bulls, who took down the Atlanta Hawks 131-116. Winner of that game tomorrow night will face the Boston Celtics. Other NBA news, Jontay Porter of the Toronto Raptors will face a lifetime ban via Adam Silver for betting on games. More on that coming up in the big show. Also at 7:20, Brantley Wiseman is going to join us to talk NFL draft, specifically quarterbacks, specifically Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. heading into the NFL draft. But hour one of Rip City Morning starts right now at 6:20, Rip City Radio. And a very happy Thursday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers. Super producer Brendan safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late. However you are rolling on this particular Thursday. A lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. Obviously, we had NBA basketball last night. Say what you will about Jimmy Butler. Say what you will about, and I know I have thrown some jabs, even threw a jab in the update that Brendan did not write about the Heat culture, and say what you will about Jimmy Butler. And they're now going to battle it out against the Chicago Bulls for a chance to probably get the gentleman sweep in 5 games against the Boston Celtics. Don't know if the Heat are going to be on, barring injury from Boston, which don't want to put that out into the universe, but I don't see another run from the 8th seed into the NBA Finals. Say what you will about Jimmy Butler. Toughest guy in the NBA? I think so. I think he might be the toughest guy in the NBA. It's why I think I like him so much. I know I get annoyed by the Heat culture stuff, but I do like Jimmy Butler because there is an NBA culture that if you do not feel 100%, if you are not absolutely at your peak performance, shut it down. Now, I'm not saying that Zion could have came back in and played in the last 3 minutes. We'll see what happens, and I'm sure that the Pelicans are going to keep that very, very hush-hush over the next 24 or 36 hours. But I don't think there's any chance in the world he's going to play.
Think they've all but announced that.
They all been announced it?
Pretty much.
I guess they kind of have to.
Play.
They kind of have to, the injury list and all that stuff.
And hamstrings are tough, Justin. You're a workout guy. You pop your hamstring, you going back the next day?
I'm going to knock on wood. I've been very lucky. Never done the hamstring.
You are lucky. Keeping those glutes in good shape.
Very lucky I've never had a hamstring issue. Couldn't imagine. I've seen them. It is always funny because not that I go around and I tell everybody, but like when people ask like, oh, well, like what gym do you go to? I was like, oh, I go to a CrossFit gym. And then they're like, oh, yeah. So you deal with a lot of injuries doing that. I'm like, have you watched Church League slow pitch softball and count how many hamstrings get popped?
When I think
you ever look at the end of a 10K and see how many out of shape fools that decided that they're going to run a 10K and they're limping over, like, yeah, but my gym and my workout system, we're the ones that get everybody hurt. Got it. Never mind the end of every 10K, there's some fool with a bad hammy limping over to the medical tent. Anyways.
Whenever I think of CrossFit and you, Justin, I just picture you cleaning with just massive weights and just dropping them.
I do drop weights a lot.
Yep, that's would not be allowed at my gym.
The weights are heavy enough. You're not supposed to put them gently on the ground. They're too heavy. You have to drop them.
Set off the lunk alarm.
Also, I will say this. A lot of people, a lot of bros in my community probably won't say this. I will say it because I am the most honest man you're ever going to have on this particular radio show. feels really awesome when you drop weights. It just does. It feels awesome when you pick a weight up and then you drop it and you get that massive. Now, the neighbors at the gym, they don't like it. But man, it feels good. It feels good.
Again, you get kicked out of my gym if you drop your weights, and the alarm goes off, and everybody stares at you.
All right, so I've never been. Clearly, it's not quite. And anything to get anybody up and moving and breaking a sweat and get their heart rate up, I support. I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody that my way is the best way. It's the best way for me. But what sets off the lunk alarm? Who is in charge of the lunk alarm? And
well, so no gallons of water. I absolutely hate that look anyway.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
It is. No gallons of water, and you can't drop weights, or you're going to set off the whoop, and everyone in the gym's going to stare at you.
Do you just turn? I heard also,
I don't know who does it. It's never happened when I've been there.
You've never seen the lunk alarm?
No, but it's up there on the wall, and it's literally defined. It is defined on the wall what can set it off.
Isn't it also like if you make a noise?
Grunting,
yeah.
Yes. Yep. It's,
I'll be on. I do that.
It's not the vibe at PF, man. The vibe at PF is pretty great.
And that's awesome. Like I said, if that's your vibe, great. Every once in a while, I'll give like an involuntary, like just primal grunt.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to hear that when I'm working out. Just a thought. You can keep that grunting to yourself.
Yeah, it's where you choose. It's like a bar, right? It's like there are just certain, like you go to a certain bar, you know the vibe of said bar. You go to a dive bar, you're going to hear some things at a dive bar as opposed to going to a country club, right? You go to a airport lounge, it's going to like. So when you go to a certain one, anyways, don't need to dive into that. Do want to dive into a lot of other stuff that we are going to talk about on the big show. Scandal in the NBA. Is this a massive scandal? Is this it feels big. It feels like a big deal. It feels like a warning of what could potentially be headed down the road. Because I have a lot of questions. But lifetime ban for Jontay Porter. Hand up, never heard of him before. Never heard of him before yesterday. Have you ever heard of Jontay Porter before? I have not. Hand up.
You didn't know he was Michael Porter Jr.'s younger brother?
Nope. Was he at Missouri with him?
Oh, yeah, he was a massive recruit. And the only reason...
Okay, maybe... Wait. Was he the guy that was at Seattle?
Yes.
And okay, now I remember this kid.
Then he tore his ACL. I can't remember if it was during the he had an ACL tear, and that pretty much just like zapped all of his pro prospects. He ended up, I believe, going undrafted and then signed two-way contracts, all that.
Now you're piquing my memory. I have heard of Jontay Porter before. If I remember right, he went to high school in Seattle because his dad was on the staff at the University of Washington.
Played with Brandon Roy and Nathan Hale.
Yes. And then his dad got let go because Lorenzo Romar, I think, got fired and ended up at Missouri. Or maybe he moved to Missouri before, and then that was one of the things that ultimately led to Lorenzo Romar getting fired because they thought they were going to have not only Jontay Porter, but it was going to have Michael Porter Jr., and they were going to make a run. Okay, now I remember this. Either way, he's not playing basketball anymore, at least not in the NBA.
No, definitely not.
Because he was gambling on himself. And
Pete Rose would like a word.
Was that, like, I feel like Costanza, was that wrong? Like, you're betting unders on your prop bets? So this is going to open up, and I think an interesting discussion that we are going to have coming up in 10 minutes. A very big can of worms. There's a lot of layers to this. This is an onion that I'm peeling onions. Because it brings up hypocrisy. I can't watch an NBA game without seeing something to do with FanDuel or DraftKings. I watch it every single night. And there are multiple partners from sportsbooks. Is this hypocrisy? Is this the tip of the iceberg for a problem? We have also heard players complaining And really, for the first time this year, we have heard players like being vocal about how the threats and the DMs and even the people that screaming at them at games because of the prop bets that they have, not cheering for them because they're winning for their team, not booing them because they are on the opposition, but basically letting them have it because of a certain prop bet that they have. And there have been a handful of players that are saying, like, it's getting out of control. And when it is as easy as click, Face ID, account, boom, 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 let's put some money on there. Is this a bigger problem, not just in the NBA, but in sports in general? Because, the leagues took the money. The NFL, I think it's the Cincinnati Reds. The Cincinnati Reds have a sports book in their stadium because that's where the Alabama baseball coach got busted, or because he was like, yeah, we're not going to win this game, called his buddy, and his buddy put like $100K on an SEC baseball game.
Yeah, it's BetMGM at the banks.
So you can go at the stadium and bet. Best believe the Reds are getting paid off of that. Best believe the leagues are getting paid off of that. There is all this money that is being filtered in, and yet are the players just supposed to, nope, zero tolerance whatsoever when it comes to gambling. So we're going to dive into what does this look like for the NBA? Is this hypocritical? Is there any way to stop this? Is this a kind of like steroids in the 90s? Like, things are going too good right now. We'll bust a minor player in this so that the major players can realize we're not messing around. So, like I said, a lot of onions to peel. I have a lot of questions where ultimately the NBA and all the other major sports leagues are going to be going with regard to their clear partnerships with online easy access sportsbooks. So we're going to dive into that. Is Bill Belichick ever going to coach in the NFL again? Doesn't sound like anytime soon because there is a behind-the-scenes expose. What a good word. Expose on ESPN.com about what happened with him and the Atlanta Falcons job. Deion Sanders said, I never put a list out of teams. And in stuff we saw on the internet, scandal at Augusta. Massive theft ring going on with Masters apparel. $10 million worth. We're going to talk about that as well. But NBA, gambling, Jontay Porter, lifetime ban. A lot of questions. We'll attempt to answer them next. 620 Rip City Radio. Yeah, back in my younger years, when I was doing afternoon radio, and I had my mornings kind of wide open, kind of the complete opposite of where I am right now. Whereas my mornings are very, very busy, and my afternoons are wide open. Brendan and I used to watch a lot of daytime TV. And one of my favorite shows, daytime TV, was Maury. I loved Maury, the Maury Povich show, and a lot of it was the paternity tests. And but every once in a while, you would get the scared straight. You would get the my teen is out of control, and then they would like send them off to boot camp, or they would send them to like a jail, and the inmates at the jail would be like, "You don't want to come here," and scare them straight. I think the NBA is trying to scare their players straight with what happened yesterday with Jontay Porter. Dejounte Murray, very different player, but Jontay Porter, who has now been banished for life from all NBA games and also banished from the G League as well. Basically, everything under the NBA umbrella, he has been banished for life. So I'm going to throw out the nuts and bolts. Brendan, I think you know a little bit more about this than I do. So if I'm missing anything, feel free, hop in, add some context. But Jontay Porter, not even really a journeyman NBA player. He has played for a handful of teams. We looked up. It's kind of unknown exactly what his career earnings were, but it's somewhere around $2 million total for about 3.5 seasons. He played a little bit with the Raptors. He played a little bit with the Grizzlies. He was kind of bouncing back and forth, played in the G League as well. And turns out the Department of Justice and the FBI was investigating him in March after sportsbooks noticed irregular betting on the over-unders for the Reserve Center statistics because, we have this stuff now. It's called AI. Now, I am freaked out that AI is going to kill us all one day. I really, really am. AI scares the bejesus out of me. But it also has the ability to do things very, very fast. And when you have an AI program monitoring your sportsbook bets going like, why is anybody betting on Jontay Murray Porter? Why do I keep calling him Murray? Because he's the actual real good player. Why is anybody betting on Jontay Porter? And AI goes, guys, red flag here. We have a lot of activity on a reserve center for the Toronto Raptors. Nobody is betting on this guy, and we got some money coming in. So, irregular betting on the over-under on his statistics in 2 Raptors games. In both games, Porter exited after playing only a few minutes. So, the NBA investigation found that Porter revealed information about his own health to a known sports bettor ahead of the March 20th game against the Sacramento Kings. Another bettor, privy to the information, placed $80,000 same-game parlay bet that featured unders on Porter statistics and would win $1.1 million. Porter played 3 minutes before leaving the game with an illness. The bet, which had been placed on DraftKings, well, that got flagged and was not paid. But essentially, he was like, guys, I'm leaving this game early. Bet every under. I'm not hitting them. And I'm sure there was some sort of probable agreement of you scratch my back, I scratch yours, we all make some money. Problem is, there's AI in our world. Everything gets flagged, and it's like, I don't care how stupid rich you are. Nobody's betting $80,000 on Jontay Porter. What's going on here? The league now investigator revealed that Porter placed at least 13 bets on NBA games using an associate's online betting account. The bets ranged from $15 to $22,000, totaling $54,000 according to the league. The NBA said total payout of those bets was 76. So he's a really good bettor. Winning of $21,000. Now, none of those bets involved any in which Porter played. 3 of the bets were parlays, including one that included a bet on the Raptors to lose. All 3 bets lost, according to the NBA. So here we are again. We talked about it with Shohei Ohtani. Calvin Ridley was the guy. He got suspended a year. He lost a year in the NFL. Now, Calvin Ridley was betting like 9-game parlays. And also, Calvin Ridley was in no way, shape, or form in a position to throw a game, because this is the concern, right? Can't have players betting on games. Can't have it. Won't do it. Can't have it. Because players have the unique ability to throw games. The NFL, it's a little bit different, right? The NFL, no, I shouldn't say nobody, because somebody probably will try it. But like, if you're Calvin Ridley and you're betting like you're under 4 receptions and you have 3, you're not going to start dropping passes. Now, maybe somebody will. I don't know. I don't know how in deep you get, but that's always the big worry. But it seems like it is much easier in the basketball world that if you're a guy like Jontay Porter or another reserve center going like, hey, I've got right knee soreness. I'm going to give it a go. There ain't no way I'm grabbing 9 rebounds tonight. Take that under. And once you get to 8 rebounds in the middle of a game in the regular season, you go, nope, knee flared up on me. I got to go. And people get paid off. So this is, I think, every league's big nightmare. So here are the questions. First off, and I'll ask you, Brendan, because you dabble, you know the story, and you dabble in the betting world. Is this hypocritical? Is this hypocritical in the NBA where they take all of this money from DraftKings and FanDuel and Underdogs or any of the other 15 sports books, ESPN Bet? By the way,
I believe this was FanDuel that got him in trouble, though.
Yes. But I am reading this article on ESPN.com, and right above it is a link to ESPN Bet. Like, it's everywhere. These leagues are taking in all of this money. Yet we have now seen, at least in football, basketball, and baseball, some sort of betting scandal, whether it was Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, now Jontay Porter, Calvin Ridley, and I think wasn't a guy in the Colts? Didn't a guy in the Colts get busted recently for, I think he was betting unders on the Colts because he knew like they couldn't move the football? Fairly certain I'm correct on that. But we've...
A cornerback, Isaiah Rodgers.
That guy! I knew it. So, A, is this hypocritical for these leagues to be taking in all of this money?
Yeah, they're suspended indefinitely in the NFL. Not lifetime.
But I thought Calvin Ridley got a year.
You asked about the Colts player.
Colts players, because I think the difference was Calvin Ridley was betting like 9-game parlays in like basketball, I think. I don't even think he was betting NFL. And then this guy, Isaiah Rodgers, he was betting on Colts games. That's why I think he got the indefinite suspension. So first question, is this hypocritical?
It was betting on his team, including his own team, Ridley. So, okay. Maybe.
Secondly, we've had this discussion before. What's better in terms of what is ultimately going to have to be a policy for these leagues with regards to players and betting? Here's what I know. Players get paid a lot of money. Young, competitive athletes with lots of money, you know what they are going to do? They're going to gamble it. Whether that is cards on the plane, whether that is weekend trips to Vegas, you get that much money, you are that competitive, you're going to gamble. Sports betting seems to be a very easy and convenient way to have some fun with your newfound wealth. Is it better to go what is essentially right now a zero tolerance policy, which is, hey, if you are caught betting Jontay Porter, you're out forever? Or would it be a better policy? And I'm not saying if this is right or wrong, it's just an idea I'm throwing out. Would it be a better policy to put everything on top of the table instead of under the table? It's like, hey, you can have a DraftKings account. You can make DraftKings bets. Your bets need to be made public. We know who's betting on what. And what do they say? Like, sunlight is the greatest disinfectant, right? Because I don't know if you're going to be able to ultimately stop all of these guys betting on sports. It's getting bigger and bigger every single year. It is an industry. And I don't even think it's a bad thing, right? Some people, they're not good at it. I'm particularly not good at it, but I'm lucky. I have the ability to be like, I lost $20 on the Masters. I'm done with that for a while. Thanks a lot, Rory. So I guess that's my question. Is there going to be a way to stop with the more and more availability we have with sports books? Is there going to be a way to stop players from betting? You have the not like that's what I talked about with the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani. It's like, wait. You were in the dugout. You were in the clubhouse. You were on the mound during visits. You're telling me you didn't bet on baseball? You tell me you didn't take one little chance? Like, hey, I know that the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim bullpen is decimated right now. There are no way they're winning tomorrow. Tell me that didn't happen? So what do the leagues do? Do you just do something like this where you throw the hammer at a not even journeyman player? Do you try to go because I think the NFL goes halfway, which is you can bet if it's legal where you're at. You can't bet on anything NFL, and you can't bet while you're at the facility. But I believe, like, if you are a player at your own house, you could bet on college football. I think that's what the NFL's policy is. But if you're at the team facility, you can't bet, and they know that because these things that you bet on, these smartphones, they know where you're at all times.
Listen to you all the time, and so on and so forth.
And they've got you pinged, and not my phone. Go to locations. Want a fun little game this afternoon? Go to settings, go to locations. Just see what's up. Okay, I'm going to ask you. I don't think this is one dumb rogue player. I think there's more to this in the NBA. What do you think? Journeyman play. It's too easy. How hard would it be, especially we have seen the rise of NBA teams who aren't making the playoffs and don't want to win. We've seen. So how hard would it be if you're some guy who's, I don't know, maybe on a team that isn't all that interested in winning, and you're like, dude, take the under. Take the point. Take my under tonight. There's no way I'm getting that.
You're not calling reference to maybe like the team that finished last in the West, are you? Like
no, more last in the East. Let's just eliminate.
Sorry, couldn't help myself. But no,
but just say you're a member of the Detroit Pistons.
I'll say
right?
this.
The Detroit Pistons, like, because usually the argument of how do you prevent this? Well, no player wants to look bad. Well, you can look okay, pull a hamstring, under 26 and a half is your total. You're at 24. Hamstring goes, right?
I think
nobody questions it in the NFL. In the NBA.
I think it does happen more than just this, and I think there's a lot of guys right now that are kind of shaking in their boots a little bit because you think about this, Justin, how easy this would be. Whether you can be an NBA, let's just say you're an NBA end of the bench rotation guy like Jontay Porter. I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's other guys in the NBA who have siblings who are not in the NBA, Be like, hey, my brother places my bets for me. He's got a different name, different social security number. You can feed him all that information. Or his wife can make the bets, or significant other, or whoever. And by the letter of the law, Justin, if he's not, quote unquote, giving details, which we know he would be.
He would be, yeah.
That would be fine, right? Like, technically, if it came out that Jontay Porter's wife was betting on games, technically that wouldn't be a problem unless he was giving her information. So I think absolutely, to your point, like, I'll say this, it's wrong, and I think it does take away the kind of spirit of the game a little bit, especially when you got guys that are just intentionally trying to lose. But
see, that's the thing. This is also a creation of the NBA culture. It is.
You're totally right.
I would be much less worried about this in the NFL because, like I said, if you're Calvin Ridley and you're like, I'm going to put Calvin Ridley receptions 4.5, and you're at 4, you're not going to drop a touchdown pass. You're not going to. You're not going to pull yourself out of a game in the NFL. If you're at 4 receptions and I took the under on 4.5, and coach, I got it. Like, but in the NBA, you are an end of the bench player who maybe plays 7-8 minutes a night on a tanking team you're probably not going to be able to pull this off on a winning team. But if you're on a team that is not all that interested in winning basketball games, and you're like, my rebounds are at 8.5. Once I get 7, right knee soreness. And we have seen, not just here in Portland, we have seen all over, and I'm not accusing anybody in Portland. I'm just saying we've seen in the NBA very convenient injuries to certain players when you are trying to gather ping pong balls. It's happened a handful of times in the NFL, but I think I don't know, it seems less egregious in the NFL betting on 9-game parlays as opposed to betting on your own stats. Because in the NBA, you could actually kind of get away with it. And like you said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm not the dumbest. There's no way, shape, or form that you don't have a guy in the NBA who's like to his buddy, hey, you want to make 50 grand? Take my under in points, under in rebounds, under in assists. My right knee's hurting. I'm going to try it. I'm going to be like, you tell me that doesn't happen on a monthly basis? Now, again, how do you fix it? How do you fix it? Do you do something like this, which is, hey, sorry, Jontay Porter, you mean nothing to this league. We are going to make an example out of you. You are now banned for life. Shot across the bow, warning, hey, anybody that has a friend with a DraftKings account, you better wrap it up real quick, because if you get caught, it's banished for life. Or do you go the opposite way? Put everything up above board. Everything on the table. And I'm not saying it's a good idea. It's actually kind of a terrible idea. But I'm just wondering, like, is there any way to stop this? Now, you asked me, what would happen if this was a bigger named player? Well, I think the NBA is fairly lucky in this, that the top-end players make so much money, I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that they need to worry about making 20 grand on the unders of rebounds. Do you know what I mean? When you're making $48 million a year, I don't think you got to worry about throwing out there an $80,000 bet. But middle-of-the-road players, hey, get a DraftKings account. What's the over-under on three-point attempts? 3.5, I'm jacking up 4. End of the quarter, that's me. All right. We will continue to monitor this situation. We're going to do some round ball rock, maybe potentially significant injury news for tomorrow's play-in game, especially in the Eastern Conference. Jimmy Butler might be out for that game. What does that do for the Heat? Who is going to be facing the Celtics? So we got round ball rock coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, big night in the NBA last night. Some maybe impactful NBA news that has just come down the last couple of minutes as the Sixers get the win. They're moving on. They're going to be facing the Knicks. The Miami Heat will be facing the Chicago Bulls. Haven't we seen this movie before? Wasn't this last year? Was it last year the Heat were facing the Bulls in an elimination game down in the second half, down in the fourth quarter, I believe, before they made their run to the NBA Finals? Don't know if that's going to happen this year because there is significant injury news in both the Eastern and Western Conference play-ins. We debate and discuss right now on Round Ball Rock. Almost second-guessed myself. I was like, no, yeah, we're doing Round Ball Rock. We still calling it that? Almost second-guessed myself. All right, so Sixers get the win last night. Massive win for the Sixers because more so in the East than the West, right? I'm not saying that the Pelicans wanted to lose that game to the Los Angeles Lakers, but if the Pelicans, and it's a big if because more injury news and stuff with Zion, but if the Pelicans were to be the 8th seed, the chances of beating Oklahoma City, not high, but it's very, very different than in the Eastern Conference where you wanted that 7 seed, and you could tell in that fourth quarter because Jimmy Butler apparently was playing through an MCL sprain because you knew you faced the Knicks in the first round. You're the Heat or the Sixers. You got a shot. You got a shot at winning that series. You face the Celtics. Sorry, you got no shot. Neither of those teams. But 76ers get the win. This coming from both Shams and Woj. So I'm going to give them both credit. But Jimmy Butler expected to be sidelined several weeks with a right MCL injury that he suffered last night against the 76ers. To Jimmy Butler's credit, Brendan finished the game. That's what I was talking about at the opening of the show, right? One of the toughest guys in the NBA. I don't know of a lot of guys that would finish a game on a sprained or maybe potentially partially torn MCL.
Oh, he's the toughest. He might be one of the toughest.
Finish the game.
Around.
Good for you, Butler.
It's a lot like different injury, of course, but like you saw the toughness of Klay Thompson a few years ago,
making the free throws
with the torn ACL. Kobe hitting the 2 free throws with the torn Achilles.
Yeah,
that's tough, Justin, and not tough. That's TUFF, tough.
I like it. So what does this mean for the Heat now? Because the Heat are facing the Bulls. They would have been overwhelming favorites. They don't have Jimmy Butler. Is the Heat culture enough? Are they enough to overcome the Bulls, who looked good last night, but they were playing the Hawks? The Hawks were 3-2-1 Cancun, man.
I'm telling you, Justin.
The Hawks wanted no part of playing another basketball game this season.
Yeah, they were done.
Like, I was kind of watching it, and it was like, they are packed and ready to go to St. Bart's or wherever.
Now,
they are done.
Yeah, I'll say this. Basically, since Justin, me, and everywhere else in the United States said, hey, Billy Donovan's taking the Kentucky job, just very quietly started to win some games. They closed some games.
Make the playoffs.
I mean, it's hard to go against the Bulls, and without Jimmy Butler, a team led by Bam Adebayo, I mean, Eric Spoelstra's the coach in this matchup. He's the coach to beat, but
Heat's
I don't know about this one.
1.5 favorite. 1.5 favorite. By the way, just talking about gambling for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think I'd be rolling with the Bulls in this one. Surprising, but I think I'd go with the Bulls, Justin.
Okay, so Heat without Jimmy Butler, 1.5 favorite. They're also home. Pelicans tomorrow night, likely without Zion. Haven't heard an official update, but he's not playing. Kings, just a 1.5 favorite, though, on the road against the Pelicans. But let's go back to a conversation we have had multiple times, which is dangerous or not dangerous. Brendan, the Philadelphia 76ers now have Joel Embiid healthy. They're going to be facing the Knicks. Now, I like the Knicks, and I like Jalen Brunson, but the Knicks do lack star power. They're also without Julius Randle, who's not going to be playing because he had season-ending shoulder surgery, I think. So the Knicks don't have their second best player, because I would say Jalen Brunson is their best player. Are the 76ers dangerous? 76ers dangerous.
They are. So I saw last night, That was last. Sorry, I'm getting my
It was last night,
getting my days and my games confused. When I was watching that game, Justin. So going into last night, 76ers were 31-8 with Joel Embiid in the lineup. Make that 32-8 with Joel Embiid in the lineup. You extrapolate that over a full game season, that's 50-some wins. So
here's the only thing I wonder about the 76ers.
I like them a lot.
Here's what I wonder about the 76ers, and that's a great stat you just dropped in. We don't do a lot of stats on this particular program, and that was a dynamite one right
Every
there.
now and again, I got one, man.
I hate load management. I hate it. But you know what I hate most about it? Kind of works. It kind of works. That's what I hate most about it, is that you do see these teams who rest these guys and give them recovery and all of that because they know going into the postseason, you have to have a full gas tank each and every night. It's a different brand of basketball. Is there a worry that the 76ers, who have had to push pedal to the metal just to get into the play-in, and then they were also trying, I think up until the last week, to catch the Pacers, to get up above.
The key is Embiid.
That's what I wonder, though. Will they have a full gas tank, or did they maybe push it a little too much down the stretch when
Sixers
a team like the Knicks didn't have to? Well, I take that back. Of all the teams to play, it would be the Knicks because Tom Thibodeau does not load manage anybody.
They slow it down. They're going to play a more meticulous brand of basketball.
Well, also Tibbs never he does not rest guys.
It's true. I would say that probably the former. I think that the 76ers team might be a little tired, but Joel Embiid's like, hey, I've played in 40 games this year. I'm feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
And
he looked good in the fourth quarter. Didn't look good early. He looked good in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you talk about it, Justin. As crazy as it sounds, Joel Embiid is the biggest star in that series, and it's not really close. No disrespect to Jalen Brunson, who's a good player. I like him a lot, but he's not Joel Embiid. He don't got an MVP in tow. Right?
I apologize. I'm not familiar with your game. No, he's not. And star power matters in the postseason.
So I think we've seen the opposite of it here, Justin, where Dame would be Superman, put the Blazers on his back. By the time they got to the second round, he was gassed.
By the time he got to the first,
gassed.
By the time he got to the first round, he was gassed.
It's just true.
I mean, he only made the second round one time.
I was trying to throw him a bone, Justin. Come on now.
I take it back. He made the second round 2 times. One time, the Clippers were injured. That was nice.
True. But yeah, so
nice.
That I kind of look at and go, yeah, Embiid's going to be in good shape. So I do like them. They're sneaky.
All right, real quick, because I think we got about 40 seconds. Blake Griffin retired. Hall of Famer?
Ooh. No.
He's borderline?
You could sway me.
You could make a case.
You could sway me either way.
Problem, no championships. Didn't have that championship moment. But
solid player, but Hall of Famer? I don't know.
He was a star for like a good 3-4 years.
Give him a trophy for jumping over a Kia.
He jumped over the hood. Not really. Anyways, all right, coming up, we got Brantley Wiseman who's going to be joining us in hour number 2, talk NFL draft. We got stuff we saw on the internet. Is Bill Belichick ever going to coach in the NFL? A lot of fun stuff on the way. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA play-in tournament continued last night as the 76ers edged the Miami Heat 105-104 in the final seconds. 76ers needed every smidge of that clock ticking away. Miami will now face the Chicago Bulls, who took down the Atlanta Hawks 131-116, but they will be without Jimmy Butler, as is being reported. MCL injury in his right knee, and Jimmy Butler expected to miss several weeks, so even if the Miami Heat get the victory tomorrow night against the Bulls, he will not likely be available for the first round against the Celtics. Other NBA news, a guy who's not going to be available at all ever, Jontay Porter, will face a lifetime ban via Adam Silver for betting on games while participating in said games. Brentley Wiseman, former NFL scout, is going to join us in 20 minutes to talk NFL draft. But hour two of Rip City Mornings, it starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Thursday. I know we're having a good time. The sun is shining. It's almost a little too bright. I give it one more segment, Brendan, before we have to close the blinds over there. But you know what? It's a good problem to have because the sun is shining. It's going to be a beautiful spring day.
Yeah, I should have been on it and done it this last off time, but we'll get there.
Either way. I'm so, torn because in the middle of April, to get a beautiful sunny day like this, it's great. But, again, whoever constructed this building and this particular room certainly did not want the people in this room to be comfortable because it's starting to heat up, and it's only 7 o'clock, and it's April. All right, we're going to talk to Brentley Wiseman coming up in about 20 minutes. He was a scout for the Chargers, worked also with Oregon football for a couple of years, and has been around the block in NFL circles as one of the best NFL draft analysts that you are going to hear. Excited to talk to him. I mean, just brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. We're going to talk a lot about Bo Nix. I'm fascinated by Bo Nix because Brendan, I want to say he's going to be, but likely going to be a first-round quarterback taken. But because the quarterback pool in this draft is so full, there's not a lot of people talking about Bo Nix. I have said multiple times that I would be the worst GM. From college to pro, I'm terrible. I got some L's. Now, I've got some W's as well. I was right about C.J. Stroud. That one, probably going to hang that one forever. But you've got now a quarterback draft class of, obviously, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, Bo Nix is going to be in there. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be in there. And we've seen this before. We've seen this before where you have these big, huge draft classes and somebody is going to be a bust. Now, I don't want to put that negativity on anyone out there, but Brendan, when you look at those 6 quarterbacks that I said, Williams, Daniels, McCarthy, May, Nix, and Penix. Not all 6 of them are going to be all pros. Not all 6 of them are going to be Pro Bowlers. Somebody is going to go to a certain situation, and it's just not going to work. I believe Bo Nix is going to be a tremendous NFL quarterback. I don't know if I am buying he was a product of the system at Oregon. No. Bo Nix was the system at Oregon. Okay? He was the system. But of those guys, who gives you the most concern? Because I got kind of a quarterback hot take. Are we sure Jaden Daniels is a NFL superstar?
I have concerns about everybody that's not
Bo Nix. Got it.
Not Caleb Williams. I have
you're with me on Bo Nix?
You could say the same thing about Marcus Mariota being the system. How'd that work out? He's not nearly as good of a prospect as Justin Herbert. So, I mean, I think you need to be realistic with expectations for where he's going to end up. Like,
should I? Because Brentley's going to join us now in 15 minutes.
He might throw egg
there,
on that.
He was there with Marcus Mariota. He was at Oregon with Marcus Mariota. I don't want to bring up bad stuff because we are puppy dogs and rainbows. And I love Marcus Mariota for everything that he did at Oregon. Should I ask, like, what went wrong? Like, what happened?
I mean, it's
What
a
on
good
earth,
question. I mean, we kind of know.
He's a good, by the way, when it comes to quarterbacks, it is so funny. The line of unbelievably good to, yeah, they stink. Marcus Mariota is still a quarterback in the NFL, right? He's a backup for the Philadelphia Eagles. We've talked about this. In a world of, what is it, 7 billion people in the world? I think something like that. 7 billion people in the world. How many of the 7 billion people in the world have the actual ability to play quarterback in the NFL? It's not much. The sample size of people that are actually capable of playing quarterback in the NFL is so small to the 7 billion people in the world. Marcus Mariota is still one of them, but because he's a backup and not a starter, he stinks. It is kind of, how many, if we were to guess, if you were to put a number on it, let's do an over-under since we're doing a gambling-themed show. Brendan, 7 billion people in the world. Over-under, currently, right now, 100 people in the world. Over-under that are capable of playing quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I'd say 100.
Say over 100?
Yeah, that's.
Did I go too low? Did I go too low? That's why I wouldn't be a...
That's fair, because I think you could go get dudes from Canada who could play in the NFL, at least in an interim basis. I think you get dudes from Europe. Who
and, like, Peyton Manning could still play in the NFL, right?
Well, Tom can.
Tom Brady definitely could. He
I don't know
might.
about Peyton. Peyton couldn't hold water with Tom anyway, but, 2 rings versus 7.
So there's a handful of... All right. I've never challenged you on the Tom Brady thing, but I'm just saying.
No, just a statement of fact.
But, like, Peyton Manning could play. Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean,
But you know what I
right?
think? There's a handful of guys that maybe are retired that they could.
Dude, Phillip Rivers probably be like, I can still.
Phillip Rivers
Probably still
spin
could,
it.
dude. He's
and
like,
then there's guys in the in college right now, like Quinn Ewers could probably play quarterback in the NFL right now.
I'll say this, and to your point, like, I don't exactly. I understand where the hesitancy comes from. Bo Nix and Michael Penix. Michael Penix more so for injury reasons. Bo Nix, again, to your point, had the benefit of playing in a system that made some of his numbers look a little inflated. I'll say that.
You're talking about Bo Nix?
Yeah. Particularly,
Well, they totally at that last game of the year, like they totally.
Yeah, no, I think he can make all the throws on the field. I think it's like one of those things where his completion percentage a little bit buoyed by little short passes that didn't travel super far down the field. That's not a bad thing.
Let me give you my Homer Bo Nix take. And it's almost me trying to talk myself into it because I do think he's going to be a good pro. In the NFL, from what I understand, and again, we're going to have a guest who actually knows, again, coming up in just a bit. In the NFL, yes, arm strength, making the throws. That's first and foremost. You can't make the throws, you can't play in the NFL, right? It's like we learned about Ben Simmons. I don't care what you can't make baskets, you can't play in the NBA. Right? I'm sorry. First and foremost, you have to be able to make baskets. Same thing, you want to play quarterback in the NFL, you got to be able to make the throws. He can do that. After that, like wiring, decision-making, and work off the field. Like, are you a maniacal film watcher? Are you like, and I think Bo Nix is one of those guys. I think he is wired that way. And I think that's the toughest thing to try to evaluate is wiring. Are you a dog on the field? And talent matters tremendously. But I think after, like, decision-making, can you make fast decisions? And now I watched every game Bo Nix played at Oregon. He made fast decisions. Didn't get sacked a lot. And it wasn't And the offensive line was great, but a lot of it was because, now maybe it was the way the offense was set up, but isn't that kind of what Brock Purdy's doing? Getting the ball out fast in the hands of your playmakers and not taking hits. Now, I'm not saying that Bo Nix is going to be the next Brock Purdy, but I feel like the way Oregon's offense was, it was designed to like, yep, get the ball, get it out. I got one-on-ones with my guy. That's the NFL. Now, let's take injury out of it. I think Michael Penix is the biggest sleeper in this draft. And now it might be because Michael Penix figuratively kicked me in the junk 3 games in a row. And I'm also a West Coast homer. Whoever gets Michael Penix is going to get the steal of this draft. That's going to be my draft hot take right now. Whoever gets Michael Penix is going to get the steal of this draft. I think the injuries and the left-handed thing are throwing people off. Because I still believe the best evaluation of, especially quarterbacks, of how well are they at playing football is, what do you call it? Watch them play football. Not watch them throw on a pro day. Not watch them run 40s. Not evaluate their, personality test. I still believe the best evaluation of a football player is to watch them play football. And I watched that dude play football for 2 years, and it's pretty unreal. It was pretty unreal. Same thing with Caleb Williams. They say make all the throws. You said it earlier. Make all the throws. Brendan, I've seen Caleb Williams make throws that I've never seen anybody make before. Now, that may not work at the next level, but I still think in terms of actual talent, Caleb Williams has got it, dude. He's so... And I might be being unfair because Jaden Daniels crushed my dreams back in 2019 and also stole the Heisman from Bo Nix, which he wasn't going to win because he lost to Washington twice. But I'm realistic about that. But I'm not seeing it. All the stuff that people talk about with Bo Nix and the system, and I think you can say the same thing about Jaden Daniels, right? Kinda? I don't know. Here's the good news. We're going to have an expert on the show, and he's going to be joining us on the other side. So Brentley Wiseman is going to be joining us talking NFL draft. A lot of quarterback talk continuing next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, very excited to welcome in our next guest. We are 1 week away from the first round of the NFL draft. It's going to be happening on Thursday of next week. A lot of quarterbacks being talked about in the first round, one of which is a guy that we are all familiar with. It is Bo Nix from the Oregon Ducks. And also, anytime Brentley Wiseman comes on the show, I get to nerd out on my favorite era of Oregon Duck football. So excited to welcome back to the show former NFL scout, NFL draft analyst, friend of the program, Brentley Wiseman, back on the big show. Brentley, welcome back. How you doing?
Justin, thanks for having me. Doing well. Just consuming a ton of NFL draft content. I think we're all very ready for next Thursday, and it can't come fast enough.
I'm 100% with you, and especially in this particular draft class because I am like everybody else. Brentley, you look at the whole field, you see need, you see value. I am a basic B when it comes to football. I love quarterbacks. Okay, I love quarterbacks. I love talking quarterbacks, and this is a not only a quarterback draft but a quarterback Thursday, which is going to happen. So let's start right up top with Caleb Williams. I'm curious your thoughts because Brentley, I was there at Autzen Stadium watching him make throws that I don't know if I've ever seen a college kid make before, but also clearly didn't have the weapons around him. Anytime you're the projected number one pick, you're going to got to go through the highs and lows, and everybody's going to kind of pick you apart. But when you kind of get down to the nuts and the bolts of it, what is it about Caleb Williams that you like? What is it that maybe there are concerns and going forward as projected number one overall pick?
Yeah, Justin, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think Caleb has been touted as this prodigy, future number one overall pick, honestly, since going back to his kind of 5-game stretch at Oklahoma. That's really kind of where this hype train started, and then obviously took off in 2022, the year he won the Heisman. But through it all, I think the one thing that stayed the same, consistent, is the peak talent. He just has a unique ability to create in the pocket, create out of the pocket, throw from different arm angles, throw off platform, but also just have a unique velocity to put the ball from point A to point B quicker and just on a line more so than any other prospect in this class. I think some of the things that people forget about Caleb is he doesn't want to play chaotic or want to kind of just play in that off backyard type of football where he's, making dudes miss in the pocket and having to run backwards 10 yards and throw off platform. Like, that's not what he wants to do. He was forced to do that because USC, as the Oregon guys, we know USC's surroundings have been terrible. Their offensive line isn't going to have a single NFL player this year. Their best skill position was receiver, and that was Brendan Rice, son of Jerry Rice, who will at best be a third-round pick. And so I just don't think he had the supporting cast, which led him to play hero ball. But if you go back to 2022, when he had Jordan Addison and he had a couple more offensive linemen, you saw him play in structure, get the ball out on time and accurately. You saw him kind of play more of that pro-style football, which I think is going to be very translatable. And so, there are some things in terms of the maturity, don't love the nail polish and doing, F Utah and like that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, these are kids. He was 19, 20 years old. I don't think it's nearly that big of a deal that people were making. And I think for me, he's the surefire top guy. And I think the Bears are going to get a really good quarterback.
Brentley Wiseman, NFL draft analyst, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's talk about the quarterback he played that day at Autzen Stadium and Bo Nix. Brentley, this is where I cannot be trusted because I get emotional about guys at Oregon. I love Bo Nix. I love everything that Bo Nix brought to Oregon as a football program and everything that Oregon did for him. Coming from Auburn. So I cannot be trusted to evaluate. I'm sure you have watched the film. Now, the knock on Bo Nix is that it was a system, that it's he's checked down Charlie, right? That it was not throwing into tight windows. Now, I've seen him throw the ball deep a couple of times. Looked pretty good to me. But again, like I said, I'm biased here. When you kind of look at the film, I see a potential very good NFL quarterback there. But is there some concern with the checkdowns, the short throws, the underneath routes, and everything that he was running at Oregon, and it not translating to the NFL?
I just think, when did it become bad for a quarterback to play within the offense?
That's what I thought.
When did that become such a bad thing? It's crazy to me. And Justin, similarly, I do obviously have bias. I'm an Oregon alum. I go to a lot of games. I watch every single snap of Bo Nix. But the thing for me that separates Bo from, some of the more system quarterbacks in college is people forget. Bo Nix was quite literally the top 3 prospect coming out of high school. This is not a 3-star out of Montana who got into a Boise State system and everything's easy for him. Like, that's not the case here. This guy has 5-star talent, elite arm strength, is a dynamic athlete, which I think is just getting completely brushed under the rug. I mean, this guy can run. We saw that last year at Stanford when he broke off a 90-yard touchdown run. I mean, this guy legit has legs. But back to your point, I've seen him make tight window throws. I've seen him make 50-yard bombs. I mean, people call Troy Franklin just a deep threat. Well, if he's only a deep threat, who's throwing him the ball deep? I don't know, Bo Nix, right? And so I don't know where this notion is that he's checked down Charlie. And sure, yes, a lot of Oregon's offense is getting the ball out quickly to our playmakers because we have great guys who can run after the catch. I understand that. But there's plenty of examples on tape of Bo making those big-time throws, of Bo pushing the ball down the field. And then just for me, it's the growth of Bo Nix is why I'm so bullish on him. You saw some of the playmaking stuff at Auburn, which admittedly oftentimes would get him in trouble. But the playmaking, the high-end talent was always evident at Auburn. But for him to come to Oregon and really kind of reel it back, play more in structure, show that he can win within the pocket, that just shows the type of player Bo Nix is and can be. I don't think the growth of Bo Nix is over. I think he's only going to continue to get better. And let me just say this, if Brock Purdy can have the success that he's having with the 49ers, I don't want to hear anything about Bo Nix being a check down quarterback because I know Bo Nix is better physical talent than Brock Purdy. So I guess that's my little rant. I'm getting frustrated by the Bo Nix slander or lack of just respect because I think he's getting lost in the shuffle in this quarterback class.
First off, that was fantastic. That was everything we needed, Brantley, because I thought I was the only one sitting on this soapbox having my own Bo Nix TED Talk because I know that comparing him to Brock Purdy, who was just in the Super Bowl, is a bit out there, but it does seem like that is kind of becoming an NFL trait, which is get a quarterback young on a rookie deal, pay a lot of money for weapons around him, and then get the ball out really fast to those weapons. And, we saw it with C.J. Stroud, we saw about it with Brock Purdy, and it seems to be kind of one of the new hacks, if you don't have Patrick Mahomes on your team, is get a quarterback on a rookie deal that can get the ball out fast and pay for some playmakers.
Justin, I always believe this. If Bo Nix didn't have if Auburn Bo Nix wasn't ever a thing, and people just didn't have this preconceived notion of Auburn Bo, and look, I'm biased. I did not love Bo when he transferred to Oregon because his tape at Auburn was so hit and miss, inconsistent up and down. It wasn't pretty. But I just believe if we only had Bo tape from the past 2 years of Oregon, I think we'd be talking about a surefire top 15 pick, and there would be no sort of discussion or discourse. People don't like to believe that people can grow, that quarterbacks can grow and develop. I'm not sure why, Jaden Daniels, LSU, he's everyone's, quarterback Q potentially. He might be the second overall pick. I'm sure I for sure remember him being at Arizona State. It wasn't pretty at Arizona State, but I don't hear the same kind of discourse around Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a one-year high production at LSU. We've seen Bo Nix do it for the past 2 years at Oregon at a high level, and it's just not the same. And so I just think Bo Nix is getting unfairly scrutinized. And I'm not sitting here saying I would take him top 5 or top 10. I do think there are holes in his game. You know, he does have the boneheaded interception, like it feels like every other game, you know, where it's just like, Bo, what are you doing here? You know, what kind of throw is that? And I do think there are times where he is a little conservative in terms of not letting it rip. I think that those are accurate criticisms. But for the common narrative to be right now that Bo will be lucky to hear his name called in round 1, I mean, I just can't get on board with that.
Brantley Wiseman, NFL draft analyst, joining us here on 620 Rib City Radio. Let's talk about a guy that went toe-to-toe with Bo Nix a handful of times. Came out on the winning end, too. All 3 of them. That's Michael Penix. Brantley, I watched Penix play a lot. Confession, my wife is a Washington alum. It makes things very interesting in football season in our house. But Washington games are on a lot, and I watched a lot of Michael Penix, and I believe that one of the best ways to evaluate a quarterback is to watch that quarterback play football, and he was really, really good at it. Why is he kind of projected second round, some even later? Is this injuries? Is this the left-handed thing? Is this the age thing? What is it with Michael Penix that is having some people be hesitant coming after a very, very productive career at Washington?
Yeah, so again, disclosure. I mean, you're talking to an Oregon guy, West Coast guy. So again, I've watched so much of Michael Penix. I was at 2 of the 3 games last year, and you know, I tweeted out after they beat us in Vegas, and I just said, you know, look, like at some point it has to matter the quarterback completing the pass. Like that, at some point that has to matter. It has to matter the quarterback putting the ball in a spot that only his player can catch it. It has to matter. I understand the injuries of Michael Penix. I understand the age and the durability concerns of Michael Penix. I understand that the offense and who he was playing with did him a lot of favors. But at some point, the throw has to matter. And in my opinion, perhaps besides Caleb, and I think it's close, to be honest with you, no one throws the football, just the art of throwing the football, better than Michael Penix in this class. He put the ball in places literally against us. It feels like every single throw. Like we had perfect coverage, and we can't do anything because Michael Penix is putting it on a dime where only his player can make a play on the football. It was just consistent, perfect throw after perfect throw after perfect throw when the moments were the biggest. So I am a full believer of Michael Penix. I think it's ludicrous that he is also not going to be a first-round guy. And again, maybe this is the West Coast bias, but I think I've had a lot of exposure to these guys, and I just think nationally, you know, I think people are, you know, just don't respect ball out west. Now, some of my scouting friends who are still in the league, you know, and they are West Coast scouts, there are some concerns in terms of his footwork and mechanics. His delivery's a little long. His footwork's kind of hit or miss. You know, it's not the cleanest of the prospects. So that is a legit concern. Other concerns are his ability to throw over the middle of the field. A lot of Washington's routes and offense were more sideline, kind of more vertical shots, not necessarily testing the hashes, which, as you know, is more of the congested area of the field where there's a lot of moving targets, a lot of defenders in the area. So can he, like Caleb does really well, can he just fire in 15-yard in, you know, in between 2 defenders? That wasn't shown a lot on tape, which, again, I do think is also a valid concern. But you see him in the athleticism. He ran a 4.5 at his pro day. You've seen the big-time throws in all these big-time moments. And he's a winner. Like, a lot of these big-time throws come in high-leverage situations. But there's very few quarterbacks either want the ball in their hands and then got to have it drive than Michael Penix. We've seen it. And so I would feel very comfortable if I was a team like the Raiders or Denver or, you know, one of these teams, either the Rams, like one of these teams is going to miss out on the quote-unquote top 3-4 that are probably going to go 1 through 4 in reality, I would feel very comfortable with Penix or Nix as my franchise quarterback.
Brantley Wiseman, NFL draft analyst, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. But Brantley, I'm not going to get you out of here without talking some Oregon football. We are a week and a half-ish away from the spring game where we're going to probably see our first viewing of Dylan Gabriel in an Oregon uniform coming from Oklahoma. Obviously, a lot of hype, a lot of expectations on Dylan Gabriel, especially because of what we just talked about with Bo Nix. I love it. I'm excited. Maybe a little bit too excited. What is it with Dylan Gabriel that you see him coming to Oregon and playing now for Oregon with this offensive system that Bo Nix left?
Man, I think next year is going to be special. I know I'm bummed I'm not going to be a season ticket holder this year. I'm getting married in the fall, so gotta wait till next year, But I think Dylan Gabriel. I mean, he's a playmaker. You saw him in Oklahoma. He's a lefty, but he throws a beautiful deep ball, gets the ball out on time, finds his playmakers, and he's just a veteran. And I think that's what we needed. We're stacked, skill player wise. You have Evan Stewart come from A&M, Trayshawn Holden, you saw really kind of come on at the end of the last year. And then Tez Johnson, by the way, I've talked to a lot of scouts. I mean, obviously, Troy was that guy, and you won't find a bigger Troy Franklin fan than me. Like, I love me some Troy Franklin. Probably top 5 duck for me of all time. But Tez Johnson, people are excited. Like, he is legit. Like, people think he's an NFL guy. And so I think Tez is going to have a massive year, and then our running back, Jordan James. I mean, I just think next year is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for the Big Ten. I think we have the team to really compete for a national championship, and anything short of the playoff for me, and the expanded playoff would be a massive disappointment with given the talent that we have.
It is going to be a fascinating year, Brantley. It's going to be a weird year. We're getting to the Big Ten, and there's a 12-team playoff. This is it still doesn't feel real, but it ultimately is coming, just like the draft. You can follow Brantley on Twitter at Brantley12, and of course you can see his analysis all over the place. Hey, thanks so much, Brantley, for your time. Always love talking football with you. Especially love talking Duck football with you. And enjoy the rest of this time. Enjoy the draft, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon. All right, there we go. Of course, right there at the end. Got the little phone pop right there at the end. Either way, that was good. I feel so good about his Bo Nix take. He might be like me, but Brantley watches the film. All right? He watches. I don't watch the film. I just watch the games. But Brantley watches the film. I did like what he talked about, though, with both with Bo Nix and with Jaden Daniels, is with guys playing so young, guys coming in and starting right away and being thrust into the spotlight, because, look, college football with the transfer portal and the NIL, it is a year-to-year sport now. Like, the idea of rebuilding a team, especially at the top, it is a year-to-year sport, because you can't count on a guy developing over 2 to 3 years, because he might not be there. He might not be there next month, right? So college football has become a year-to-year sport, and so coaches know that. They put the best quarterback out there. And when you look at Jaden Daniels, when you look at Bo Nix, and you think about them as 18-year-old freshmen at Arizona State and at Auburn, it's like, those are very different players than the two guys that were sitting in the Heisman Trophy room there in New York, along with Michael Penix. So great stuff from Brantley Wiseman. Coming up, we are going to be wrapping up hour number 2. Stuff we saw on the internet. Potential scandal at Augusta National? Not with the golf. No, with the merch. Tell you that story next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, on Sunday at Augusta, Scotty Scheffler wiped away the field in the back nine and won going away his second green jacket. By the way, did you know you get to keep the green jacket for a year? Then you go back to Augusta with your green jacket, and they say, thank you, we'll just keep that here. And they keep the green jacket on the grounds because...
What if you said he lost it after a year?
I don't think you're allowed to lose it.
Like, if you're Scotty Scheffler, you're just like, yeah, I don't have it. I'm sorry. They got to come at you.
Yeah, they're going to find it. They have like a low jack on that thing.
An air tag in the
They
jacket.
put an air tag on it probably because you said like there was like a in Canada, like a Goodwill in Canada. I don't know what they call Goodwill or Salvation Army, but like a secondhand store in Canada had like an actual Augusta green jacket. Now, probably not a champion's jacket, but a member's jacket. Because I don't know. I don't think the members are allowed to take them off the grounds, probably because of this reason right here. But it's one of the old school, only at Augusta kind of rules that I love. I love that Augusta does not allow phones. I love it. It's part of the charm of the place. We talk about the food and the concession stand and everything else. And one of the things that is unique to the Masters tournament is merch. Right? You could go right now to usopen.com and buy all the US Open merch you want. It's all online. It's for anybody and everybody. You can buy all the US Open merch you want. If you want anything with a Masters logo, an officially licensed Masters Augusta National logoed anything, you have to be there on the grounds. Inside the gates, have to be. They do not sell anything online.
I checked in on this, Justin, real quick. So it was sold for $5 at a Goodwill store in Toronto, Canada. They determined, and Augusta did confirm its authenticity. Apparently, it was sometime from the 50s.
There you go. Now that's why they don't let you take them off the ground. You don't leave with the jacket. They check you at the door.
And the name was cut out of it. So who hid their identity, Justin?
I know.
That is the question.
So I bring you the story now, though, because there's now scandal with regard to Augusta National and Masters merch. I bring you the story of 39-year-old Robert Glebinski. Robert Glebinski is in a bit of trouble. According to the Chicago Tribune, Glebinski, a former employee at Augusta National Golf Club, was charged in federal court this week for stealing millions of dollars worth of Masters memorabilia over a 13-year period. Over the past baker's dozen years, Glebinski had been transporting stolen goods from Augusta to Tampa, Florida, which is across state lines, which is why the feds come in here. Knowing the same had been stolen, converted, and taken by fraud. Now, it's unclear the type of items that Glebinski specifically stole and tried to flip, but the fact that you cannot get Masters anything outside of Augusta National unless it is on the secondary market. And also, secondary market with Masters gear also has a bit of a stink on it, if you know what I mean. I like the fact that if I had a friend and I go, hey, dude, here's $150. Get me a hat, shirt, polo, what, or I'll Venmo you $150. I just want something from Augusta, right? Doesn't it feel a little bit slimy and sleazy to go on, like, I don't know what it would be, but like whatever the secondary market is to get like a Masters hat that somebody bought not for you and pay like 4 times the markup? So you can get stuff online on the secondary market, but it's like, it kind of defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? Kind of defeats the whole purpose of the Masters gear is that you or someone you knew was there, it came from, as opposed to just buying it secondary online. But there's clearly an industry there. There is a need, and this guy over the past 13 years has been a little sticky-fingered around the merch tent. I'm sure now, because of old Glebinski, employees probably not that happy. They probably have their bags and stuff checked on their way out now. But for 13 years, this guy was stealing millions of dollars. Now, here's the deal with the merch tent. Because we joke around about how you could pay $1.50 for a pimento cheese sandwich. We talked with Tyson Alger yesterday about how $65, which is 2 beers and a popcorn at Moda. I know because I paid it. But like $65 gets you the entire menu. You get like 5 sandwiches, all for like, I think, $11, something crazy like that. And you think, how? How do they pull this off? Well, I'll tell you how they pull it off. Brendan, you want to know how much money they make or how much merch they sell? Take a guess.
That's something like $50,000 a second or something like that.
It might be. This article I have, $10 million a day.
That might track.
It might track.
I might actually.
That's some fast math. We both got to figure out.
Yeah, that might actually track. Yeah.
$10 million per day. Masters week, obviously, because they got the practice rounds. You've got $70 million in sales. $70 million in sales for the week. Because everybody knows you can only get the merch there. So
that's $14 million a day. If you say 5 days, including the practice day.
I think it's open Sunday to Sunday.
Is it a full week?
I think it's a full week. Don't
if it's a
quote me
full
on
week,
that.
it'd be $10 million a day.
Yeah, so that's what I have. $10 million a day in merch sales. And that's not counting the because apparently you can buy all this merch and then when you're there, they will then box it up and ship it home for you. Because that's the other thing. You can't just walk around with bags of everything. They'll ship it home for you. But 13 years, old Glebinski was probably on a gravy train with biscuit wheels. Wonder what got him. I wonder what, did he fly too close to the sun? He's like, yeah, this year I'm just going to go big. I did see, there was, I think, a Netflix documentary one time of a guy who worked at the Buffalo Trace Distillery in Kentucky, which is where they make Pappy Van Winkle, which is a very sought-after bourbon. I have yet to secure mine. Still working on it. If a listener out there wants to help, your boy. But this was like the same kind of thing. There was a guy who worked at the distillery who would just like, on his way out, grab a couple bottles of very rare bourbon, put it in his duffel bag, and then head home. And then he tried to steal a whole barrel, and that's where he got busted. That'll do you.
It's like you said, he flew too close to the sun here. Yeah. I mean, the fact
Also,
that it went on this long.
Real quick, because we got a handful of seconds. Hot take. I wouldn't want Masters gear from the secondary market.
I wouldn't want if I didn't go.
If I didn't, well, okay. What if I went and I said, Brendan, can I pick you up a hat?
Okay, that'd be okay.
That's
because
because I was there. You know me, vis-a-vis.
That's different.
You were 1 degree of Kevin Bacon. You know what I mean? But like, it's like, dude, this is on some warehouse in Tampa that you went to. Like, I don't know what website you would go to. Anyways, all right, coming up in hour number 3. Is Bill Belichick ever going to get a job? Behind the scenes, so ESPN did this, behind the scenes of the Bill Belichick Atlanta Falcons deal, we got a special third hour make or miss, RCM mailbag, all next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Thursday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA play in action last night. 76ers will be the 7 seed in the East and will face the New York Knicks after they beat the Heat 105-104 in the final seconds last night in Philly. Miami will now face the Chicago Bulls, who took down the Atlanta Hawks 131-116 for the 8th seed and final spot in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But Miami will be without Jimmy Butler, as an MCL injury in his right knee has him out potentially weeks. So even if the Heat do get the win over the Bulls, Jimmy Butler likely not available for the first-round series against the Celtics. In other NBA news, Jontay Porter, he's not available either because he is facing a lifetime ban via Adam Silver for betting on games, including props on himself. Coming up in hour number 3, we have a special third-hour edition of Make or Miss. We have got the RCM mailbag. Bill Belichick maybe not coaching the NFL anymore, and we bid a fond farewell. Hour 3 starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with us, even for a smidge of your time or for a big chunk of your time. We are grateful for all of you for spending any bit of your Thursday or any other weekday, for that matter, with us. Big thanks to Brentley Wiseman, NFL draft analyst, who joined us last hour. And, I mean, it is refreshing because we do get so bogged down when you start hearing about all these quarterback evaluations, and I get it. The NFL is a nitpicky league. We talk about how it drives everyone insane because a half a second could mean a half a step, which could mean a half a yard, which could mean a first down, which extends a drive, which gets you points, which gets you a win, which gets you one extra W, which could put you in the playoffs and can make your season. Or one half a step could make you half a yard short, so you don't pick up points and you lose that game, and then you're a game out of the playoffs, and then you get fired. Right? It is a game of inches. It is a game to be nitpicked, and I understand all of that. But I think every once in a while when we get to these quarterback evaluations and you start getting real deep into it, it's like, yeah, but ultimately, can you throw the ball to your team? Like can you, with a defensive lineman bearing down on you, can you step up in the pocket and can you make the throw and can you make completions? Because I firmly believe that you can grow as a quarterback from a freshman to a senior, and I think you can get more experience. I don't know if you can get more accurate from college to pro. Like, you want to talk about how I think you can evaluate best. An accurate quarterback in college does not always equal a bad quarterback in the NFL, but if you are inaccurate in college, if you're not throwing 60% completion percentage in college, I don't know if you're going to get any better at the next level where every defender is that much faster. So it was a fun conversation with Brentley Wiseman. We're going to have Make or Miss coming up in a bit, but I mentioned in the update, we have a fond farewell. We have a tradition on this program that, every once in a while, we have to say goodbye. And, I think this is healthy, and I think it is just part of the grieving process. And something that was very significant to sports fans here in the Pacific Northwest. Some loved, some meh. Some probably hated it, but it is now gone. It is out of our lives. So we bid a fond farewell because I learned on the internet yesterday, Brendan, Matthew Knight Arena is no longer going to be deep in the woods. We bid a fond farewell to the ugly court that Oregon played basketball on for 11 years. We need Sarah McLaughlin. Goodbye, deep in the woods. You really threw us for a loop when we saw you for the first time. Those first couple years when you didn't even have a half-court line, And Oregon won the CBI because Creighton got called for a backcourt violation and you didn't have a half-court line. You will be missed. Goodbye as an Oregon basketball fan trying to defend deep in the woods that it wasn't as bad as people thought it was. That it wasn't as ugly as people thought it was. And also trying to defend that everyone else was ultimately copying Oregon when they put weird shadows on their court. But it wasn't anything compared to deep in the woods. Goodbye each and every November when I turn back on Oregon basketball after an offseason and go, oh, that's right. That's the court they play on. And again, not only trying to sell other people, but trying to sell myself. That is actually kind of cool. It wasn't. We say goodbye. You ultimately got a mid-court line. That was a step in the right direction. But it is now time to go. Who knows what design they're going to put on that court next year? And if I know the good people there at Swooshville, it's going to be something out there. But to deep in the woods, we're not going to miss you. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to miss you. We can cut off Sarah McLaughlin. I tried not going to miss it. Brendan, it's gone. It's gone. It's out of our lives.
About 11 years too late. That's almost disrespectful to Sarah McLaughlin.
Don't say that.
Yeah, no, I'm in.
We had to live the memories.
I'm in massive protest over here, but that's fair.
We had to go back and live in the memories. That's why I didn't tell you. You said, "What are we doing it for?" I go, "Oh, you'll find out."
I wouldn't have got it.
I know.
I would have been in protest. I would have protested
understand.
You.
That's
I
why
would have
I
protested you.
That is why I didn't tell you, because Yeah, there's a video online right now. They're the Sanders are out.
I forgot you sent me that DM yesterday.
Down to the wood.
Notice how I didn't reply because I'm like, oh, it should have been taken out like a decade ago. But no, that is as bad for you as it was Oregon State having the broad jerseys. We got rid of them after a year. You stuck with yours for 10 years. This has been Brendan's TED Talk.
It's so hard to replace a floor, though.
Is it when you're Nike?
I don't know. Maybe not. They switch them out every time. That is, as an Oregon fan, as an Oregon basketball fan.
Sad thing is you kind of believe it, too, because you're not sitting here going, no, Brendan, no, Brendan, no, Brendan. So you kind of believe what I'm saying, too.
Here's the thing that no Oregon fan will admit. I will admit it because I am the most transparent man on radio. I said it multiple times. None of us liked it either. Now, here's where my heart is broken. Because one of the people I admire most, not only with regard to Oregon athletics, one of the people I admire most in the world is Tinker Hatfield. Tinker Hatfield, the designer of Air Jordans 3 through 15. Tinker Hatfield, the designer of the Oregon O as we know it right now, which I believe they're going to go back to throwbacks in football this year. Tinker Hatfield, the guy who has been responsible for so many great, the Air Maxes. Brendan Tinker designed the floor. And I had
He did.
And I think because of my love of Tinker Hatfield and one of my favorite interviews, by the way, of all time, I never could admit it out loud that thing was ugly as hell.
It was a tough look.
It was a tough look. I think I've told you. I remember friend of the program, Steve Tannen and I. It was 2011. It was January of 2011. We had been to the national title game. Oregon just got beaten by Auburn. We came back. Oregon is opening up Matthew Knight Arena. They're playing USC because the season, the arena wasn't ready at the beginning of the season. It needed about 3 extra months of work. And so the season started at MacArthur Court. And they're in November, December. And then so everybody went to the national title game and then came back. And that Saturday, I believe, was the opening of Matthew Knight Arena. And the game against USC. And I remember going in early because Steve and I were doing the pregame show. So we were there before anybody else was there. And we were like, we're looking at and so you saw the pictures. We knew like the trees and the deep in the woods and all that stuff. But Brendan, I very much remember sitting there up top doing the pregame show, and I'm looking at Steve, and I'm like, did they forget the midcourt line? Like, is the midcourt line there? Like, did they didn't put it down? There's no midcourt line. And I remember I went and I asked somebody, an associate AD, who shall be unnamed, and he was like, technically, if you look, there's two little, because you know how, I think at Moda they do this when, like, in the circle at the at midcourt, and if the logo gets in, like, they'll have the little pinstripe lines so that it doesn't interrupt the logo. Do you know what I'm talking about? They did that for the entire half court line. And
I've been to Matthew Knight. I think it's an awesome arena as far as how it's built.
Mhm.
Like, it feels like you're walking into a better Moda Center. No, minus
it's a little smaller.
a little smaller, but, like, again, the amenities, right? You have, fine, great Wi-Fi. It is designed. I like the media area. Now, I think it's very telling, Justin, that when you Google up Matthew Knight Arena,
Yeah.
you pull up the Wikipedia, there's an entire 3 paragraphs on criticism. And not only everything from the court to the court's contrast to how much the arena cost, like, it's been something that, and I've heard it from you, like,
Yeah.
over and over again, like, not like you could have done anything with Mac Court,
Yeah, you had to move on.
but
You had to move on from
like,
MacArthur Court.
listening from what you and others have said, like, the kind of college basketball nature didn't transfer over there. And I
No.
think they did a poor job making it a little bit of kind of like, I feel like they tried to do hybrid college concert venue,
Well,
this, that.
Here's the thing
Yeah.
about Oregon. They are very much on the innovation line. You know what I mean? Oregon loves that. And a big chunk of that is Nike. I mean, you look at all the football stuff and the Hatfield-Dowling complex and everything else that they have built. It's always like on the, on the brink of what is the most technologically progressive. Like, they are all about innovation and setting the trends, not following the. Every once in a while, when you set the trends, they don't always hit, right? And I don't know if Matthew Knight Arena quite hit, because the thing about MacArthur Court is it had charm. MacArthur Court had charm, and now it was too small, it was too old, and it had to be replaced. Had to be. Problem was, innovation can sometimes bite you in the behind, right? Oregon has always been like, we're not about tradition, we're about innovation, and that's good 90-some% of the time. Every once in a while, it's like, do we need innovation here? Because college basketball is kind of about character and band and student section and atmosphere, and you can't really innovate that. You have to get butts in the seats. Anyways, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you deep in the woods. Brendan's not, but
Justin will.
I'm going to miss you. It's a talking point for a good chunk of time. We have got Make or Miss coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome back to the big show. An hour ago, Brentley Wiseman joined the big show. Fantastic stuff from Brentley Wiseman on the NFL draft, on Bo Nix, on Michael Penix, and on Caleb Williams. Seems like he's high on all the quarterbacks coming up in the draft, which is kind of fascinating. He even talked about Jaden Daniels and quarterback growth. So if you missed that, check out the podcast or check us out on YouTube as well. You can go back on YouTube and rewind and hear that conversation. It was fantastic. So because of the old switcheroo, means the third-hour listeners, which I would assume are also first and second-hour listeners, get themselves a treat, which is the 821 version of Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, Justin, firing up Make or Miss today.
Did you ever defend the sports bra uniforms at Oregon State?
Do I defend them?
Not now, but like at the time, were you like, they're not so bad, guys?
No, they were ugly.
Okay.
They were ugly. I think the longest time I had one, I don't know what happened to said jersey, probably in a box somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, no, it was not the look, Justin. It was not the look.
All right, we're going to get into Make or Miss here in a moment, but Make or Miss, what are some of the biggest misses that you almost had to defend?
The chainsaw song that they did for a solid year.
Crank it like a chainsaw?
For a solid year until they realized how silly it was.
Because they tried to capitalize off the I Love My Ducks thing.
Yes.
And so this guy's like, I could do that. And he made Crank It Like a Chainsaw, and it was not good.
Defended that for the entire 2013 season.
There's a lot of uniform combos that Oregon fans have defended. I get some hate on it because I'm like, no, those are ugly. The ones where they dressed up like a cartoon duck. Sorry, those were ugly.
They were
dumb.
They were Donald Duck.
It's a dumb idea.
I still think it's a cool idea, but bad execution, I suppose.
Maybe if they won the game, it'd be a little bit different. But they didn't. They lost to Colorado, and I felt they looked like pure silliness.
So will they ever come back to the foreground, or do you think those are locked away in a vault somewhere?
I think they're done. I think those ones are done. That was the season where they just we talked about the guy at the Masters who stole millions of dollars in merch and was selling it on the secondary market, and it's like he clearly must have stole too much and flew too close to the sun. 2016 is one of the worst seasons in Oregon football history. It was a bad season from a win-loss perspective. It was a bad season from a vibes perspective. And it was a bad season from a uniform perspective because that was also the year they had the uniforms where they looked like Cal and they got beat 70-21. It was the same year where they had uniforms that were designed to look like a cartoon duck and lost to Colorado. Just a bad year all around. So hopefully they go away. But there's a lot of people that will defend those. What about the T-shirt jerseys in the NBA?
Oh, I love those. The sleeves, right? They were the sleeves.
Yeah.
Those were cool.
They were the Adidas ones like a handful of years ago. They looked like T-shirts.
Yeah.
Hated them.
I believe that one of the posters around the corner here has one of our players. Neither of whom are with the Blazers anymore.
Yeah, it's CJ McCollum in a T-shirt jersey.
Yeah,
and they don't make the T-shirt jerseys anymore, and CJ's playing tomorrow for the Pelicans.
Look. So that's fair. I love that look. Trying to think like anything that like there thankfully haven't been like
Crank it like a chainsaw. I forgot about Crank It Like a Chainsaw.
That's the best thing I can think of because to your point, Justin, probably because of resources, maybe it's because Nike says, hey, we'll give you new uniforms every 4 or 5 years. Oregon State doesn't really change their uniforms that much. Like, after Mike Riley left, there was a soft change with Gary Anderson. Then after Gary Anderson left, there was a soft change with Jonathan Smith. Now I heard there's going to be a soft change this year. There will be uniform tweaks that are closer to the early 2000s.
That's where you should. That should be the base uniforms.
They are the best Beaver uniforms. Early 2000s.
They're the best. Are you familiar with the Matt Kearney, the Back Home in Oregon song?
It's a great song. Even an Oregon State alum can say he loves listening to it. Well,
I don't know
Heading down I-5.
I don't know how much I like that song.
That's such a good song.
I don't know how much I like it.
It's a banger, Justin.
It's not a banger.
Justin, get stuck in traffic on your way to a Ducker Beaver game and play that song, and man, you'll feel much better.
If I'm not at the stadium with the highlights of like my childhood teams, right? There's Mike Bellotti and Rich Brooks. Like if I'm not, like, I don't know if that's really that good of a song.
When I was in college,
Not my favorite.
My two sports co-hosts and I, we actually went down to Matthew Knight Arena and we took a live video during Shout and during Coming Home.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't realize at the time they did Coming Home at basketball games either, but they do.
Yeah, they do it all.
And I remember looking at my buddies being like, both of these things are better than any one thing that Oregon State does, and in that like hype up type of way.
Can I say though?
So I mean, it's like a single. It's like Sweet Caroline, man. Justin, come on.
I will say, as one side of the Civil War rivalry, because I did make a lot of fun of Crank It Like a Chainsaw on the radio. I did a lot.
It was fair criticism.
The OSU Oregon State fight. That's kind of cool. I'd hate to admit it, but it's kind of cool that when everybody does the same thing. I love that. Like I love that stuff. Whether that's like USC, they do the fight on thing, and like Washington,
the first down.
Even though I hate Washington, they do the hat at the when everybody does the same thing. I think that is so cool, and that's like the same thing with Shout at Oregon, right? Everybody's on board. Like everybody's doing it. It's awesome, and like. It's just the thing. Like, they know, like, the OSU thing is actually kind of cool. I'll give you that.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. But, yeah, those couple things kind of stand out. So you're all in on Shout and all out on Matt Kearney.
I wouldn't say – no, I'm not all out. It's like I talk about with One Shining Moment. One Shining Moment's not a good song. It's a good montage reel. You know what I mean? It makes you, hey, look back. Remember this tournament? It was so much fun. But if you were listening to the radio and you heard One Shining Moment come on without the highlight package and without sitting there after just watching the national title game and everything else, it wouldn't be very good. It's the Back Home in Oregon, or I Left My Heart in Oregon, or whatever it's called.
Dude, Matt Kearney's dropping a new album next month. Let's go.
Post-game concert at the spring game.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite.
That's cool.
Not quite Lil Wayne at Colorado. Not quite, but
okay. Put on your memory cap here, Justin, because you might appreciate this. When Oregon State opened Reser Stadium in 2005.
Yes.
There was a concert that occurred, a country concert. Do you remember the artist? Was
it Montgomery Gentry?
Montgomery Gentry, man.
I had tickets to that game.
That game, I was 9. I can remember that like it was yesterday. I've been like, what, there's a concert? Wait, we all get to go sit on the field and listen to a country concert?
First off, R.I.P. T. Roy.
Yeah.
Helicopter crash, right? God.
Yeah.
Montgomery, I saw them.
Hey, helicopter crashes are kind of dangerous. We've learned that the past couple years.
I saw Montgomery Gentry open up for one of the 25 Kenny Chesney concerts I've been to, and they were awesome. I had tickets to that because when I was working radio in Eugene, the guy who ran the country station knew that I was a country fan, and he was like, hey, you want to go check out the concert? Here you go. And I was like, thanks. But Oregon had a game that day. But, yeah, I remember Montgomery Gentry opening up Reser Stadium.
Might need to sneak.
Throw a couple in. There's some bumper music.
Yeah, I might have to ask around. Justin, we do work at a radio station. He's coming to the Schnitz here in a little bit.
Just Montgomery?
No. Matt Kearney.
Oh,
yeah,
I thought we were talking about Montgomery Gentry.
Sorry, we went back and forth, but yeah.
Even though it's not just we lost Gentry.
I know, right? Oh my goodness, you want to talk about some bangers?
I know.
Mid-2000s.
Well, we might have to throw some in some of the intro music.
We might have to work on that. Yeah, there's some bangers there.
All right.
Anyway, let's get into Make or Miss. The rest of Make or Miss as we.
I kind of want to talk about bad uniform ideas.
Yes, that's true.
Continue.
This one's going to be fun because I really want to talk about this, Justin. Salt Lake City is quietly becoming a sports town.
Dude.
Quietly.
So
it's not loud, but it's just like, hey, look, we got 2 of the Big Four.
So the Jazz obviously have a foothold there. They have when the Jazz are good, that's a tough place to play. You saw that in the Last Dance. Boy, those between like the Jazz and like Rice-Eccles Stadium, when those Mormon kids get all hopped up on their hot chocolate, man.
Root beer, man.
That root beer gets a flowing.
Not Barks root beer, because Barks root beer has caffeine.
No,
so it has to be mug.
Just mug or A&W.
Yeah, classic.
And their hot chocolate, boy, they get fired up. But yeah, so they're getting the Arizona Coyotes, so they will have the Coyotes.
Stealing them from Arizona.
Okay,
who wants to leave Arizona, first of all?
first
No
off,
offense.
is it a theft or is it like I saw a couch on the sidewalk and nobody's watching it, we'll take it. That's what it feels like. Because the Coyotes, they have been a mess in Arizona since they've been there. It started with Wayne Gretzky was part of the ownership, and then he's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, so I fell into the rabbit hole of this. So I didn't actually know this, Justin. Did you know that apparently men's and women's ice hockey at Arizona State is a massive thing? Absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. So imagine if Oregon or Oregon State built and designed a brand new arena just for ice hockey.
Yeah.
And state of the art, 15,000 people or 12,000 people, whatever it was. That is where the Arizona Coyotes played with the Arizona State men's and women's hockey teams. And that's how it's been for the last 3-4 years, something like that. Apparently, the owner had been told Phoenix was going to build him a stadium.
Yeah.
Didn't come to fruition.
And also, there was a whole thing, the league owned them for a while.
Yes.
And, ownership had been a mess and, they couldn't get approval. Like you said, they couldn't get approval of a new arena. I went to a Coyotes game.
They had been in Phoenix since 96, if you can believe it.
So they're in Glendale when I watched them. When I watched them, they were in Glendale.
They were the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets.
When they were created in 1979.
Because there was a whole mass migration south of hockey teams, right? It started, I think, with the San Jose Sharks. It started with the LA Kings got Gretzky from Edmonton, and then the San Jose Sharks came in the 90s, and then the Minnesota North Stars moved to Dallas. They became the Dallas Stars. Where did the Hartford Whalers go? I think the Hartford Whalers became the Carolina Hurricane. I think. Who did the Hartford Whalers become?
Carolina Hurricanes.
Boom. Nailed it.
What were the San Jose Sharks?
I think they were expansion.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
San Jose Sharks were expansion.
Sure were.
And then you got the Florida Panthers, and so there was a handful of teams all kind of coming south, and it was working. It just had never quite clicked in Phoenix, and money stuff and everything. All right, so let's get back to the original topic. I don't know if Salt Lake City really stole the Coyotes, or did they see a car broken down, abandoned with the keys in it, and go, we'll take it. We'll take over the payments. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like they got in on what? You ever watch Storage Wars? This feels very Storage Wars. The Phoenix Coyotes forgot to pay their storage fees, and now their storage is up for auction. And Salt Lake City goes, yeah, come on with us.
To me,
now, could this be the first time? I'm trying to think. Could this, if they don't change the name, where it actually works?
They're probably Coyotes.
There's got to be Coyotes in Utah.
Yeah, that works.
This might be the first time where it actually works. The LA Lakers is dumb, right? Because they came from Minneapolis.
There's no lakes in California. They're out of water.
The Utah Jazz, it came from New Orleans. It's dumb. It doesn't work. Even the Memphis Grizzlies, they came from Vancouver, where the Grizzlies are. This might actually work. I think there's Coyotes in Utah.
I think Justin, Portland could learn a ton from how Salt Lake, and specifically, again, eventually there'll be maybe some changes with who calls the shots around these areas. But again, Utah sells its team. Ryan Smith buys the team in 2020, the Jazz. Basically,
how did he get rich? He's a young guy, right?
I believe he's a hedge funder.
Hedge fund.
Let's see.
Can I confess something to you and to this listening audience?
He was born in Eugene, Oregon, too, and went to BYU. So how about that? Makes sense. He's there.
Can I confess something to you? I don't know what a hedge fund is. I hear it and I'm like, oh, hedge fund, rich guy. I don't know what a hedge fund is. Do you know what one is?
Yeah. So a hedge fund.
Could you explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old?
You take other people's money.
Boom.
Like,
how do you get it?
like
They just
other
give it to
people's
you?
money in the biggest aggregate. So I'm talking like the Teachers Union of America. Like you hold their money, or the plumbers and
then you invest it.
Yes, and you are looking for, how do you put it into stocks, into bonds, into ETFs, into this, into that.
And puts like they did on Big Short.
That's the stuff. Sales and puts, and that's where my stock knowledge kind of ends. I'm like, it is hard to understand.
I always hear like, oh, this guy's a hedge fund guy, and I'm like, well, it must be rich. I didn't know what it. Like I had an idea of what a hedge fund was, but
so this is
I
kind of
couldn't
interesting.
give you a comprehensive.
Yeah, so he founded Qualtrics, which if you know what
Should we found a hedge fund? Give us your money, please. We're starting Rip City
And
Mornings hedge fund.
I believe Qualtrics is like surveys, research, this, and that. Regardless, Justin, he dropped out of BYU to found Qualtrics with his brother. I think that worked out okay for him.
Yeah. So what's his net worth? What do we got?
Oh, let's look.
What are we working with here? Are we over 10 billion?
Only 2.5. So one of the
All right.
not cheaper, but he bought the Jazz for almost 2. So that probably took.
Well, he could probably sell it now for 4.5 or whatever.
Right.
So they're bringing the Coyotes in. Are they going to steal the A's from Vegas? I know they tried, but now Sacramento got the A's for 3 years.
I think they're going to put up a good fight.
If they don't build a stadium there in Vegas, because they're still fighting over that, right? Are they going to steal the A's?
So for whatever reason, and I'm not going to make judgments, but Justin, it seems to me that the fine folks in Salt Lake City don't really care about having taxes to pay for stadium upgrades. That's what I've heard. That's why this is like they are turning the Delta Center in that area into a mini version of what we've seen in Milwaukee with the Deer District.
Yeah, but they got weird alcohol rules, though.
Well, Utah, right? Again, back to Utah.
That's what I'm saying.
So is
it'd be fun to have a sports complex and all that, but they got weird alcohol rules, though.
Well, nothing more than 5%, Justin. But again, I just think it's case in point a unique spot because compared to Vegas or even like Portland, where we can't even agree on funding or where to put a stadium or this or that, I think it's impressive that Utah very quietly is like, not like they needed to do a whole lot to get this, but they're like, hockey? Yeah, you guys in the back want hockey? Oh, okay, cool, bring it in.
Want to hear real estate's kind of their thing.
That too.
There's a lot of ownership of real estate
that too.
From what I've been told. But yeah,
like I said, Utah's
it's frustrating because like you sit here and obviously I love sports and there's always been talk of like, hey, because the NHL was expanding, right? And the NHL expansion that ultimately became the Seattle Kraken, they met with Portland and Seattle at the same time. And Seattle put their best foot forward and they got the team. They were always going to get the team because of the market, but there was talks in Portland. We all, like, if you know the history of Moda Center, then Rose Garden, like it was built to try to steal the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was one of the reasons why they built it the way that they built it. It's a multi-purpose thing. And the fact that
I was 28 years old when I learned that.
Portland wasn't even on the short list to get the Phoenix Coyotes. So we could definitely dive into that. I don't want to because I want to have a good Thursday. Way to go, Salt Lake. You did it. Have fun with your hot chocolate and your
5.5% beer. You're good.
5% beer. You have to drink a lot of them. You have to go to the bathroom a lot.
A lot of courses, baby.
A lot of bathroom breaks. A lot of them. All right. We have got a bathroom break and RCM mailbag coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits, and I repeat, will not duck the tough questions. How tough will the questions be today? Well, there's only one way to find out. It's time for the mailbag.
All right, Justin, firing up the big mailbag today. I'm curious, your thoughts. Do you think it'd be cool to speak to animals?
I've thought about this more than I probably would care to admit. Let's go over the pros and cons. Oh, God, not another pro-con list. Yeah, let's do another pro-con list.
I'm not going to stop you from me thinking.
Obviously, I would think it would be great to be able to talk to animals. Here's the con, though. Do I really want to know what Crash thinks of me? As I sit right now with my beloved dog, whom I love and adore, I feel like I get the most affectionate and love back from my dog. What if I could talk to animals and they found out, like, dude, you keep me on a leash, you keep me locked in the house, you give me one bowl of food a day. This ain't cool. Like, what if we found out dogs just weren't all that fond of what's going on? I don't believe it. That's my worry. Because, like, counterpoint, would you want to know, like, what people thought about you when you're not in the room? I don't want to know because I would not handle it. So
it's like not going to be positive.
So it's like, I don't know if I want to know what my dog thinks of me at all times. I'm sure there's sometimes Crash looks at me and is like, dude, that's all the treat you're giving me, you jerk. So ultimately, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no.
Including.
It's close, though. It is a close. I've thought about it, though. Like, would I want to? Because, like, it'd be much easier to deal with, like, hey, Dad, my stomach hurts. Please let me outside so I can barf. I don't get that. I get a look like, and then there comes the barf. You know what I mean? That would be nice. It'd be nice to know about when throw up's going to happen. But I don't know if I'd want to know old Crash's thoughts at all times.
It would be interesting.
Ultimately, I'm going to say no, but it's close. It's close.
It's like you said, I'm trying to think, like, what would, like, I wouldn't worry about what my dog would say. Worry about what my cat would say.
Yeah, I don't have a cat, but I could imagine probably not good from the cat.
If there's
probably a lot of snark.
Is there
a lot of sarcasm?
Is there an animal that is more snarky if they could speak than a cat? I don't think so. Walk around like they own the place.
Mm-hmm.
A dog comes near them, could just bring out the claws. Owner comes near them, they don't want to be picked up, could bring out the claws. I think cats got it made, man.
Plus, like, they got that whole lion and tiger thing. Like, I know my cut. Like, it feels like they got, like, their cousin on speed dial because they, like, I come from a line of very big cats, and that seems to be the attitude that they have. Yeah, I'm not a cat person. Don't shame anybody that is, but cats just not for me. Dog guy. And
you've never had a cat?
I had one, like, as a child. R.I.P. Jasmine. And then my parents had a cat when I was in college that I named Griffey.
Oh, nice.
R.I.P. to Griffey. Griffey's no longer with us. King Griffey Jr. is still with us, but the cat, Griffey, no longer with us. Then I got Crash. Crash did not like cats. Crash almost murdered one of my parents' cats when I brought him home for Christmas. Oops. Forgot about that one. So we are a non-cat household. Because Crash
is that entirely, like, him, or is that you not ever putting him around cats? Because we had.
Well, when I adopted him, they put on there no cats, and I was at the time I was single, so it was just me and Crash and my one sad 1-bedroom apartment in Seattle, and so then I took him home. To be honest, kind of forgot my parents had cats, and forgot all about because I'm like, oh yeah, this is my dog, And then the cat came out and Crash made a noise that I'd never heard him make before. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he hates cats. Hates them. He's gotten over it a little bit because he's old now, and I think he's too tired to care. But in Crash's prime, oh, he would like visibly shake. He would be so fired up about a cat.
Yeah, like I'm
Now he just chases birds out of the backyard.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because when we watched my sister and her husband's dog for a month, their dog hadn't a golden doodle hadn't ever been around cats either, and we have a cat, and that was an interesting like relationship for a month. But as soon as like we the owners, pet the cat and rubbed the cat and said we love the cat in front of the dog, all of a sudden then the dog didn't really care about the cat anymore.
Yeah, Crash has a very violent reaction to cats. I don't even think I don't want cats, but two.
So if one was in your arms, what would happen?
Crash would attack it.
With you holding it?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not going to find out.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, you seem like you're scared of Crash a little bit.
I am not. No, I am not scared of Crash in any way, shape, or form. I am scared to see what he would, if he ever got a hold of a squirrel, what would happen. Me, no. I have no problems. The squirrels, maybe. Also, neighbor cat did pop him on the nose. Because we were walking around the corner. Neighbor cat was around the hedge and like couldn't see it. And Crash looked around the corner like, what is that? And then neighbor cat whack, got him on the nose. Popped him good.
All right, yeah, let's continue on. What do you think is worse, Justin? A bad smelling air freshener or a bad smelling scented candle? Because I know you've probably smelled some bad scented candles before. I know I have.
Well, like, air fresheners are the worst.
Yeah.
Air fresheners, they permeate everything.
I'm talking like bad air, like Lysol, no offense. Like it maybe does its job, but man, it stinks.
Oh, see, I don't mind Lysol.
Oh, really?
I have a real sensitive nose to perfumes. Like a real perfumey, like Kelly will put on like smelly lotion like upstairs, and I'll be like, "What is that?" And she'll
way. You do got a sensitive nose.
Only for perfumes.
Yeah.
Like we have a thing. It's called a Pura. Have you heard of the Pura? It's an air freshener that's like it's like a smart air freshener you can control from your phone. And I'll be sitting at home, and like Kelly will be on her way home, and she'll hit like, because she doesn't want to come into a house that has been sat with a dude and a dog all day. So she'll throw the Pura on, and I'll like text her. I'm like, did you put the Pura on? She's like, do I need to turn it down? I'm like, please turn it down. It smells like a Hollister in here.
Yeah, and we all know what a Hollister smells like too, Justin. You remember.
Hollister, Abercrombie, and now Anthropology. They all got a smell. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Brentley Wiseman. Thanks to super producer Brendan. Thanks to all of you. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on a Fancy Coffee Friday on 620 Rip City Radio.